So you're calling him Daddy now, Chloe? You seem to be close with that flashy man. At the words of my younger son's wife, my older son's wife, Chloe, turned bright red with anger. Stop saying things like that. Are you trying to harass me? What does she mean by a flashy man? I must uncover the truth for my dear son's sake. My name is Susanna. I'm a 65-year-old enjoying a relaxed retirement after raising my 2 sons as a single parent. They've finally become independent. Life is relaxed now, but just a few years ago, I went through an unbelievable turmoil. It was right after receiving the news that my eldest son, Anthony, and his wife, Chloe, were expecting a baby. Anthony, who married in his late 20s, had been struggling to have children. Anthony loves children and often felt downhearted, seeing his younger brother's family already having 2 kids while he remained childless. We consoled him numerous times, saying these things are beyond our control. When we heard the pregnancy news, not just me, but even my younger son's family was overjoyed. Everyone was looking forward to the birth of Anthony's child, but I started to notice something odd about Chloe. Anthony and Frederick, my younger son, often visited me, worrying about me living alone. Aren't your wives bothered by it? But neither daughter-in-law showed any signs of discomfort. Maybe they don't like it deep down, so I told my sons, "You're married now, don't come home too often." However, about a year before the pregnancy news, Chloe started disappearing frequently with her mobile phone. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it and let it be. But one day, I encountered her making a phone call in our parking lot after she disappeared from the living room. Maybe not today. Thursday then. Don't worry, I'm handling it well. I'm quite capable, you know. She had been working part-time at a grocery store since getting married, probably discussing shift adjustments or something. Maybe she felt bad about making calls while visiting her in-laws. It's all right to talk in the living room. She's so conscientious. That's what I thought at the time. But every time she visited, she would disappear into her cell phone calls, which made me worry. Isn't that happening a bit too frequently? Such frequent shift changes might indicate a poor working environment. I care for Chloe as if she were my own daughter. If it were a harsh work environment, I'd want to tell her, "Don't overwork yourself, rely on your son." But as a mother-in-law, I hesitate to interfere in their family matters. With that in mind, I casually approached her and, "Sorry, I overheard your phone conversation earlier. Are you busy with work?" I asked her. At that moment, "What? You heard it?" She became furious. Worried that it might have seemed like eavesdropping, I hastily apologized. "I'm sorry, okay? I can't believe it. Eavesdropping on phone calls? That's called being overly intrusive. So what did you hear?" Maybe it was something about shifts?" She gave me a puzzled look. "Yeah, I've been a bit busy. Sorry for raising my voice. I overreacted." "It's okay. You must be tired, right? I'm the one who should apologize." Her forced smile was concerning, but if she felt like I was prying into her phone call, feeling her privacy invaded was understandable. It's natural for her smile to be strained. I think of this daughter-in-law as my own child, but from her perspective, it's mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Maybe I misjudged the distance. Reflecting on this, I noticed a notification on her mobile phone. The screen showed one new email, Darrow. Darrow? She registers Anthony and my names with full names, so it felt odd she had a nickname like Darrow saved. She quickly pocketed her phone. A nickname for someone close? I hesitated to ask who's the message from, due to the slightly tense atmosphere, when suddenly, da-da-da, Cleo, Frederick's wife, entered the room singing a mysterious tune. "Ah, Susanna, Chloe's here. Great to see you." Cleo was nonchalant, but I didn't miss how Chloe's shoulders flinched at the sound of Cleo's song. The fleeting worry I felt was hard to shake off. Cleo has her quirks, or rather quite unusual habits. Once, when I saw her staring out the window and asked, "What are you doing?" "Praying for road safety," she said. I knew Frederick liked quirky girls, but I never thought he'd marry someone so eccentric. However, that night, we received news that Frederick was involved in an accident. A car burst into flames right in front of his vehicle. Miraculously, both Frederick and his car were unscathed. It was said to be a miracle. I thought it might be thanks to her prayers for traffic safety. There was also a time when she suddenly told me, "Susanna, that's no good. You're not smart." Naturally, I was irritated, and Frederick rushed to apologize, saying, "What are you saying? Sorry, Mom, she's a bit scatterbrained." But later, when I went to the hospital with a severe headache, they found an early-stage brain tumor. Fortunately, it was benign and caught early, so the treatment was straightforward. However, I later realized her comment about being not smart might have been literal. While I wish she would have phrased it differently, I still think she's a good person. Considering that, when she sang da-da-da, it must have meant something. If Chloe was indeed being unfaithful, I wanted to gather evidence. But after that day, she stopped visiting our house. Well, I myself want her to prioritize her child during this pregnancy, so I have no complaints. However, the fact that she stopped visiting our house after that incident is still concerning to me. With my unsettled feelings unresolved, Anthony's long-awaited first child was born, a girl. Chloe refused visitors, citing her recovery, so Frederick and I went to Anthony's house after her discharge to see the baby. However, upon arriving, we found Chloe, who appeared far more energetic than expected, waiting at the entrance. "Everyone's here together," she said with a smile. "Chloe seems very lively, too," Cleo commented. At that moment, Chloe's face twisted. I finally recovered. Frederick and I exchanged looks, each thinking she might have been fine all along and just avoiding us. "So you've brought a gift for the baby, haven't you?" "Oh, yes, I have." "Can I see it?" I was astonished at her high-handed attitude, demanding the baby shower gift with an outstretched hand. She had changed a lot since we last met. It was not a conversation to have at the front door, yet she didn't invite us in. My anger began to rise, but I reminded myself that she might still be unsettled post-delivery. When I handed over the gift, she immediately began checking its contents. 1, 2, 3, huh? After counting the bills, she glared at us angrily. "Just $1,000? Don't joke with me. I won't let you see my daughter for less than $3,000, she said loudly and arrogantly. Cleverly, she clutched the congratulatory money for the birth. That's more than the usual rate, Cleo said. That's exactly right. Usual rate? I'm troubled if you talk to me with the same values as other people. You want to see your adorable grandchild, right? Is their worth only $1,000? Look, you can't put a price on grandchildren with money. After all this trouble coming here, what are you trying to say? Confused, I watched her snort in disdain. I don't need such pretty words. If you want to see your grandchild, prepare more than $3,000. You can't see her today, just leave the gift and go. Telling my husband is useless. He's out on sudden work, and unless the gifts increase, I have no intention of letting you meet her. How selfish. No, rather, why has she suddenly turned into a beggar? As I was trying to understand the situation, it happened. Chloe, I have a request. Huh? Chloe, not minding the atmosphere, puzzled Cleo. Can you show me the inside of the car? Cleo, talking with a smile, made everyone think, why now? But I remember her intuition in such situations. Maybe she's onto something. It's okay if we can't see the grandchild, but last time, Anthony gave me a ride to the station, and I dropped my earrings. I want to go look for them. Of course, it was a lie to get Cleo's request through. I haven't been in Anthony's car for about 5 years. Looking puzzled, Chloe agreed. Well, if it's just that. While she went to get the car keys, I asked Cleo, is there something in the car? She replied, huh? Susanna, you dropped your earrings, right? I was surprised. Yes, she believed that lie. Troublesome. So maybe there's nothing in the car? If there's nothing, then there's nothing. Half resigned, I searched the car after getting the keys and opening it. Frederick, too, fully believed I lost my earrings and helped Cleo and me look. Maybe there's something in this car, a clue as to why Chloe changed or about Darrow. Such hope was driving me forward. Ah, Chloe, I found the earrings. What Cleo held up clearly were earrings meant for men. Cleo, that's a man's earring, Frederick pointed out with a half smile. But the moment he spoke, he covered his mouth, frozen. Right, Anthony doesn't wear earrings. He doesn't even have pierced ears. So whose earring is this? Glancing at Chloe, she stood petrified, staring at the earring, her face pale. Whose is this? She remained silent to my question. It's Daddy's, isn't it? Chloe, unfazed by Cleo's casual talk, shouted with a flushed face. Stop saying that! But you always call him Daddy here, right? You're close with that flashy guy. Frederick and I exchanged glances the moment we heard those words. Daddy? Or deciphering Cleo's drawn-out way of saying it, Dad? But Chloe always calls my eldest son by his name. She refers to her own father as Dad. I've never heard her call anyone Daddy. Could it be... This car has a dash cam, it seems. Oh, well, it's got various things. Right, can I take a look? Chloe stiffened again at my words. Frederick, without waiting for Chloe's permission, began searching for the dashcam button. Wait, don't touch it without asking. Why, is there something inconvenient? No, there shouldn't be. Nothing. Then it's fine. Let me see it. Wait, let me see the footage first. No way, I'm married. That's fine. You don't have to wear it. You're pregnant anyway, and you can't have more kids, right? Well, yeah. But you know this child is yours, right? You don't seem to realize that, Daddy. But you said you didn't want me to acknowledge it and would pass it off as your husband's. Yeah, be grateful for that, okay? If you abandon me in the future, I'll be angry. You have to keep loving me, okay? Well, I'm not sure about that. Hey, Daddy. Frederick unexpectedly played the dashcam footage. It showed Chloe and a man wearing the earring, laughing and embracing each other joyfully. For us, who cared deeply about Anthony, it was an abominable sight. When confronted with the truth, Chloe confessed that the man in the video was Derek, her college classmate and ex-boyfriend. Their relationship had restarted after a chance encounter at a friend's wedding, despite her marriage to Anthony. I remembered Cleo once singing "duh," hinting at the man's name. Things were starting to connect. Did you not want us to meet the child because it isn't Anthony's? Chloe fell silent at my words and eventually started crying. Because when born, the baby looked nothing like Anthony. He keeps saying it resembles me, but I thought you'd definitely notice. You gave birth to someone else's child and still tried to get congratulatory money? Derek said he'd take the child for $10K. I thought if you really paid the $3K and saw the child, if I handed the child over to him and apologized, maybe you'd forgive a one-time mistake. I'm disgusted. What do you think a child is? Don't toy with a child for your own pleasure. And a man demanding money like that won't properly take care of the child, and we can't forgive such betrayal either. But I love them both. I don't want to divorce, but if it turns out the child doesn't resemble him, it'll definitely lead to a DNA test and divorce. Chloe ranted as if she was speaking reason. Frederick and I couldn't hide our disgust. Then it happened. I think Anthony knows, said Cleo. Chloe exclaimed. He seemed to realize the child didn't look like him and that you were often going somewhere in the car. But he stayed silent. The child is innocent after all. Being shunned by its biological mother, it'd be pitiful to be rejected by its biological father too. But foreseeing we'd find out, he worried alone. He's been having stomach pains lately. He's at the hospital today. Such a kind Anthony. And you betrayed him, Chloe. I was surprised by Cleo's sharp words, not her usual self. It was a bit scary. I hate people who don't cherish their children. Maybe it's because I raised my much younger sister in place of our working parents. She said that with a smile. Everything Cleo talked about was not directly mentioned by Anthony himself. Despite Chloe's story being unbelievable, everyone believed Chloe's words. Indeed, the kind-hearted Anthony would have worried about the child's future and carried the burden alone. Chloe, please divorce my son. But Chloe clung to my arm in desperation. Don't touch me. I can't see you as my daughter anymore. Loved both? Don't talk nonsense. I can't trust my precious son with such an irresponsible woman. She slumped to the floor, pushing away my arm and crying, I'm sorry. Repeatedly, Cleo said, "You should apologize to the child you gave birth to, not Susanna." She was right. Cleo, usually a bit spiritual and mysterious, might actually be reliable. Later, Frederick and I contacted Anthony and told him everything that happened. Anthony knew about Chloe's affair. He had even seen the dashcam footage. Overwhelmed by the news of the pregnancy and unsure what to do, he kept silent. When the child was born, he hoped it would resemble him, but it didn't at all. His worries were just as Cleo had described. I should have suggested divorce earlier, but thinking about the child's future, even if it's not mine, a small life is precious, makes you want to protect it. I told the troubled Anthony to consider the child's perspective. Imagine growing up in a family where the parents don't get along. A mother who cheats, parents in a sham marriage, and a biological father who's a stranger in the family registry. Such a complicated background is only painful for a child. I doubted Anthony and Chloe could function as a couple after this. It would only lead to a dysfunctional family. Better to have a divorce due to the mother's infidelity, leaving the child without a father. Anthony listened quietly and said, "Thanks, I feel a bit clearer now. It would be cruel to raise a child in a fake marriage." Months later, Anthony divorced. The delay was due to a reason. After much contemplation, he persuaded her to give the child up for adoption. When I suggested divorce, she desperately tried to please Anthony, but from his perspective, she was neglecting the child. She ignored the crying baby, focusing solely on Anthony until he stepped in to care for the child. Anthony scolded Chloe, telling her, "You're not fit to raise a child," and urged her to give up the child for adoption. Initially, Chloe claimed it was her child, but it seemed she was overwhelmed by motherhood. Gradually, she accepted the idea of adoption, saying, "I'm not cut out for motherhood." Perhaps she thought it would be easier to remarry Derek if she didn't have a child. However, things didn't go as planned. Anthony filed for alimony from both Chloe and Derek. Chloe's parents, furious upon learning the reason for the divorce, agreed to pay Anthony a substantial amount. It seemed fair since they had bought a house expecting a child. Derek, faced with the alimony claim, rejected Chloe, saying, "Don't involve me in your mess." A major miscalculation for Chloe, who believed their relationship would continue even after the divorce. She approached Anthony, suggesting they reconcile, saying, "I've sorted things out with Derek," but that was far from being sorted. Anthony, having lost all feelings for Chloe, dismissed her, saying, "Stop with the ridiculous jokes." She was truly alone now. The child was adopted by a distant relative of her father, a family unable to have children. The child, born into a complicated situation, seems to be living peacefully, receiving much love from the adoptive parents. This environment is undoubtedly better than being with her. I haven't even seen the child's face, but I wish them happiness. After all, I once thought of them as my grandchild. Anthony was saying things like, "I'm done with marriage and women," leading Frederick to jokingly worry, "Anthony, don't turn gay." During the New Year holidays, Cleo suggested to Anthony, "Let's start a home garden." Without understanding why, he began gardening and somehow became friendly with the woman next door. They haven't started dating, but they enjoy evenings together in the garden, drinking and chatting. It's unclear what the future holds, but it's good to see him enjoying the company of a woman again. Frederick's children are growing too. One just started elementary school, and we were able to witness this milestone. Another grandchild is on the way. That makes 3. Our days are becoming more lively and joyful. I'm looking forward to it.